Now I have the full text. Let me break it into logical, slide-sized chunks. Sometime in 9th century China, an alchemist mixed sulfur, charcoal, and saltpeter together in a quest not for destruction, but for immortality. The Taoist scholars who first blended these ingredients were searching for an elixir of eternal life, experimenting with minerals and compounds that they believed held the secret to transcending death. What they discovered instead was the world's first chemical explosive, a substance so volatile that early texts describe laboratories engulfed in flames and alchemists with burned hands and faces. One Taoist text from the era recounts how heating sulfur, realgar, and saltpeter with honey produced smoke and fire so intense that the entire house burned down. The Chinese called this discovery huoyao, meaning fire medicine, a name that still refers to gunpowder in China today and serves as a permanent reminder of its origins as a byproduct of the search for life-extending drugs. The earliest confirmed references to a gunpowder-like substance appeared during the Tang Dynasty, with a formula recorded in the Taishang Shengzu Jindan Mijue in 808 AD containing 6 parts sulfur, 6 parts saltpeter, and 1 part birthwort herb. About 50 years later, another Taoist text explicitly warned against mixing these ingredients due to the dangerous results. The irony could not be more profound. A civilization devoted to prolonging life had stumbled upon one of the most effective means of ending it. Gunpowder would go on to reshape every continent it touched, topple empires, demolish castle walls, and fundamentally alter the balance of power between nations for more than 1,000 years. At its core, gunpowder is remarkably simple. It consists of just 3 ingredients: potassium nitrate, commonly known as saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur. The modern standard ratio, established around 1,780 and still used by pyrotechnicians today, is 75% potassium nitrate, 15% charcoal, and 10% sulfur by weight. Each ingredient plays a distinct and essential role in the chemical reaction. Potassium nitrate is the most critical component, serving as the oxidizer. During combustion, it releases oxygen that enables the other ingredients to burn rapidly, even in the complete absence of atmospheric air. Charcoal serves as the primary fuel source. Rather than pure carbon, it consists of partially decomposed cellulose from wood. This distinction matters because pure carbon has a much higher ignition temperature and would burn too slowly to be effective. Sulfur, the third ingredient, plays a dual role. It acts as an additional fuel and, more importantly, it lowers the ignition temperature of the entire mixture, making it easier to set off the chain reaction. When ignited, gunpowder deflagrates rather than detonates, meaning it burns rapidly at subsonic speeds rather than producing a supersonic shockwave. This combustion generates approximately 40% gaseous products and 60% solid residue, the latter appearing as the characteristic white smoke. The rapid expansion of hot gases is what propels a bullet from a barrel or launches a firework into the sky. Simply mixing the 3 dry ingredients, however, is not enough to produce quality gunpowder. They must be thoroughly ground, moistened, and carefully processed to create a truly reactive mixture. The journey from alchemical curiosity to battlefield weapon took roughly 2 centuries. By the Song Dynasty, which began in 960 AD, Chinese military engineers had begun harnessing gunpowder's destructive potential in earnest. The earliest recorded military formula appeared in the Wujing Zongyao in 1044 AD, a military manual that documented gunpowder recipes and described how to produce it on a large scale. Early weapons included fire arrows, which were ordinary arrows fitted with small gunpowder packets that were lit with a fuse before firing. Catapults hurled bombs made of gunpowder mixed with scrap iron, creating deadly shrapnel on impact. Perhaps the most innovative early weapon was the fire lance, a bamboo or metal tube that channeled the explosive force of gunpowder to shoot flames and projectiles at close range. This weapon is widely considered the ancestor of all modern firearms. By 1132 AD, fire lances were being used in siege warfare, and over the following century, they evolved dramatically. Reusable metal barrels replaced disposable bamboo tubes, and by 1257, some fire lances were firing multiple projectile wads. By the late 13th century, these devices had transformed into true hand cannons, with metal barrels, touch holes, and dedicated gunpowder chambers. The Mongol conquests of the 13th century served as a powerful vehicle for spreading gunpowder technology across Eurasia. Both sides in the famous siege of Kaifeng in 1232 used gunpowder weapons, including ceramic grenades launched by catapults that proved devastating against warriors and horses alike. Song military engineers developed rockets, mines, and early cannons, and their continuous weapons innovation was one key reason they held off the Mongol forces for several decades before ultimately falling. Gunpowder spread from China to the rest of the world remains one of history's most consequential technology transfers. Knowledge of the substance reached the Middle East by approximately 1240, with Arab scholars referring to saltpeter as Chinese snow, fireworks as Chinese flowers, and rockets as Chinese arrows. The Syrian scholar Hassan al-Rama wrote detailed gunpowder recipes in Arabic between 1240 and 1280, and his terminology strongly suggests Chinese sources. In Europe, English friar Roger Bacon provided the first known Western description of gunpowder in his Opus Majus of 1267, describing a firecracker-like toy he had encountered. Some historians credit the Mongol invasions with directly introducing gunpowder weapons to Europe, with possible deployments at the Battle of Mohi in Hungary in 1241. By the 14th century, European armies were developing their own cannons and handheld firearms. The famous Ottoman siege of Constantinople in 1453 demonstrated gunpowder's castle-shattering potential, as enormous cannons firing 320 kilogram projectiles breached walls that had stood for 1,000 years. European nations rapidly refined the technology, developing matchlock mechanisms in the 15th century, and eventually creating increasingly accurate and powerful firearms. Interestingly, while China invented gunpowder and pioneered its military use, by the 16th century, the Chinese were purchasing firearms from the Portuguese. Europe's fragmented political landscape and near-constant warfare drove fierce competition in weapons development, pushing innovation at a pace that China's relatively stable imperial system did not match. This divergence would have profound consequences in later centuries, as European colonial powers, armed with superior gunpowder weapons, projected their influence across the globe, reshaping the political map of the entire world. While gunpowder's military legacy looms largest in popular imagination, its civilian applications have been equally transformative. Black powder was first used in mining as early as the 15th century, with the earliest surviving record of gunpowder use in mines coming from Hungary in 1627. The construction of the Canal du Midi in southern France, completed in 1681, represented the first large-scale use of gunpowder in civil engineering, linking the Mediterranean Sea to the Bay of Biscay across 240 kilometers of canal and 100 locks. Throughout the 19th century, more black powder was consumed in quarrying, mining, and road and railroad construction than in all military applications combined during peacetime. The development of smokeless powder in the late 19th century marked the beginning of traditional gunpowder's decline as a military propellant. Unlike black powder, which produces enormous clouds of white smoke and leaves heavy carbon fouling in gun barrels, smokeless powder, based on nitrocellulose, generates almost entirely gaseous combustion products. Alfred Nobel's invention of dynamite in 1867 further displaced black powder in industrial applications. Yet black powder has never disappeared entirely. Today it remains essential for fireworks, where its reliable burn rate and affordability make it the preferred propellant for lift charges and timing fuses in aerial displays. It is still used in muzzle-loading firearms for hunting and historical reenactments, in model rocket engines, and in military applications, including primers, igniters, and blank fire charges. The global gunpowder market was valued at approximately $26.66 billion in 2024, reflecting the substance's enduring relevance more than a millennium after its accidental discovery by alchemists, who were, ironically, trying to live forever. Thanks for watching. If you have anything to add, drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos exploring the world around us.